ICE is terrorizing American communities on behalf of wannabe dictator Donald Trump and his fascist sycophants like his Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and border Nazi Tom Homan. We see what ICE has been doing, carrying out unlawful, unconstitutional, and inhumane orders, breaking into homes without warrant or cause, kidnapping and trafficking innocent people regardless of legal status. Trump has signed numerous executive orders to combat a fictional invasion he conjured for fear-mongering to demonize and generalize immigrants and manufacture consent for a consolidation of power to impart authoritarian rule. The Trump regime has blocked asylum and kidnapped and imprisoned legal asylum seekers and people granted asylum in foreign concentration camps, though conversely, he has decided to grant asylum to white South Africans, even though they aren't facing any real persecution.
Your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed.
This is the most disgusting lie and egregious hypocrisy. Trump revoked and cut all of the pathways to asylum for people who are brown, people who are actually fleeing war, famine, and real persecution, and have been imprisoning those people in concentration camps, ripping families apart, and trafficking innocent human beings who are asylum seekers. But the white South Africans who aren't actually fleeing any war, famine, or real persecution are deserving of asylum and citizenship? White South Africans were European colonizers who came to South Africa, displaced the native population, stole land, and built a racist apartheid state. They accounted for 7% of the population, but owned 75% of all individual farmland, and through court cases were made to redistribute farmland to the native population. And then Trump has the nerve to lie and tout some harebrained conspiracy theory, calling this redistribution of land a genocide, while he has been funding and facilitating and using U.S. military to uphold real genocide in Gaza. There is no white South African genocide, and to say so would be laughable if it wasn't such an abhorrent and dangerous thing to say. And Trump's cult of dumbass Nazis are already running with one of the most reprehensible lies and propaganda stories I've ever heard. This is another day of the Trump regime's continued plan of ethnic cleansing. This is what they've always wanted. This is not an isolated incident. Think about the totality of everything they've done, every policy, all the rhetoric, the actions, the people surrounding them in Project 2025. They are concerned with upholding and furthering ethno-religious supremacy, white Christian nationalism. And before you say, but they have people of color on their team, take a step back and use some critical thinking. Throughout history, white supremacy has always been upheld by co-opting people of color. They are tokens, and tokens get spent. This is not a new notion, and acts like this further cement what all the evidence has already stacked up to show. By eliminating due process, they have threatened everyone in America. They have already kidnapped legal residents and citizens merely for speaking out. Now they are speaking of suspending habeas corpus. The Trump regime has not only targeted political dissidents, but judges and now mayors that are in opposition to the crimes of the Trump regime. And the regime continues to threaten Democratic members of Congress with imprisonment as well, while their cult loudly calls for it. Trump has already further militarized ICE and law enforcement and has deputized civilians. Among them, we know, are white supremacists with vested interest in carrying out this violence, much like the white supremacist he pardoned for helping him in his insurrection. And now he has signed an executive order to deputize 20,000 more to carry out this abhorrent plan of ethnic cleansing.
Deportation! White nation! White nation! Closed borders! Closed borders! Now we start the deportation! Now we start the deportation!
These agents of ICE and Department of Homeland Security and anyone aiding them in these crimes are cowards who claim themselves to be law enforcement officers but wear masks to avoid repercussions for carrying out their illegal orders.
You have masked men taking people, abducting people without a warrant, without IDs.
Trump has already laid the groundwork for martial law. And to fill this order, the Department of Homeland Security just asked the Pentagon for 20,000 National Guard troops to mobilize within the states to carry out these deportation orders. Now is the time for the American people to exercise your Second Amendment right. Take a page out of the book of the Ohio community that mobilized armed neighborhood watch in the wake of Nazi attacks, or the community watches in San Diego to protect their communities from ICE. Organize and protect your community from the terrorists of Trump's Gestapo. Protect those most vulnerable and fight against this fascism we are facing.